Hi, it's Gene, retired in Mexico, and we ask one question on this channel. If you're new and you don't know what we do here, it's do they write them and sing them like they used to? A lot of people, young and old, they think the old music is better. Can you believe that? And I am not so sure. And so anyway, I listen to new music. I listen to music from when I grew up, classic rock and other forms of music, and I listen to music from before I was born. So it's all good. There's good music from all eras, and so this is kind of an anti-nostalgia channel where I don't believe there are the good old days. So just not going to do that. We're in the here and now, 2023. And so one of my subscribers, Legendary Liuda, and I think he's new to the channel. I'm not sure, or she, not sure if it's he, she, or whatever pronoun. You know, Uh, anyway, this subscriber said to hit up the Voidz, which is an offshoot of the Strokes and is one of Julian Casablancas' bands. So yeah, and I put it up on community poll, and you guys told me 50% of the vote said, "Yep, hit up the Voidz." So that's what we're going to do. I'll probably stop the video one time to help modify the content because I do get a fair number of copyright blocks. And so I did a deep dive into the lyrics before hitting this just tonight, and saw that this is supposedly about his father, John Casablancas, who died around the time that he, I guess he died, and then he wrote this song and released it the next year. So it's called Human Sadness. Let's go ahead and hit it up. At his recommendation, I'm doing the audio and not the video.
Put money in my hand, and I will do the things you want me to.
Hmm. I said they started this off by playing some Mozart, and then that was the template for this. Okay. Yeah, very left field. Let's stop this briefly. Yeah, very interesting music. So I will say I'm glad I did a dive into the lyrics because if I had not read the lyrics in advance, I would have no idea what he's singing about. I cannot understand the words because of the vocal production. So sonically, that's fine. I have no objection to that. But I cannot, I need to read the lyrics to know what he's talking about. And it's such an emotional song. I'm perhaps a bit confused, but that's all right. But if the lyrics are so important and they're about his father, I wonder why they're not a little bit more front in the mix. But anyway, the music's cool, and there are some interesting little thumps of the bass or synth bass, whatever it is, and some really skewered and warped sonic effects. And so it's cool. I get what's going on. Let's keep going. Oh, that guitar. Organ, like a church organ. longer. This song is a lot longer than I thought it was. So let me just pause briefly to modify the content. Okay. And I will say that of what we listened to so far, that last third has a really smooth flow and a nice transition. In the early part of the song, there were some kind of sudden shifts in mood and sonics, but right around that guitar solo, that was a nice long passage. I like the way it developed. Little bits of classical influence here every once in a while. There's that kind of Space Invaders noise. See, this part here is kind of a little bit like a requiem. Okay, well, I think you guys are trying to challenge me, but I think I get this piece pretty well. Now, I'll say that I like the second half better than the first half, and the question is this: is it because the second half really was better, or was it just that I was getting acclimated to the song? Because this is a first reaction, and I can tell right away, you know, like even though it's not exactly like them because it doesn't do layers and loops. If you take a band like Animal Collective, a lot of times Animal Collective or Panda Bear, those guys don't necessarily hit the spot on first listen, but I had this Panda Bear album that I listened to a few times, and man, when it sunk in, it really sunk in. So this is a first reaction. Okay, so I might not even rate it because I get the feeling that this necessitates second and third listens. But I can tell you, it really got better in the second half, and some of that guitar was killer, and I love the keyboards. I'm still a little bit uh, confused by one aspect, which is I take lyrics pretty seriously, and the lyrics seem very emotional to me, and yet there's all this humor in the music, and it's nothing new under the sun to have lyrics and melody not go together. I mean, the Beatles did that all the time with songs like Help, a very happy song, but very sad lyrics. So it's nothing new under the sun, but it's a little confusing with a lyric that seems this personal about his father that it would be sung with that vocal production style and with all this humor. in the music. So anyway, my main take of this is it sounds very experimental, but it's a fun ride in the headphones. There's a lot going on with panning and the stereo spectrum, and some really distorted. Um, the drums were pretty clear, but some of the bass and guitar and everything, a lot of distorted sounds, and of course the vocals heavily distorted. So it sounds cool sonically. I think it's one of those songs I think I'd rather just listen to it and just forget about the lyrics, just forget what he's talking about, and just sit back and just go for a ride with this because it's really interesting. And I also compare it to prog rock. So follow me on this. In progressive rock, there are some bands, especially Yes and even more so Emerson, Lake and Palmer, where the transitions are so awkward. But now we consider those albums classic because we've gotten used to those transitions. You listen to an album like Close to the Edge by Yes. Your first listen to that way back in the day, it sounded very jarring. And now today it's considered a prog rock masterpiece because you listen to an album like that 100 times and the transitions just make sense after a while. In other words, you acclimate your ear to what they're doing until it actually begins to sound normal. And I think that's what we've got with a song like this. Um, so I'm not going to rate it, but I did like it. I just have this feeling that I would rate it a little higher on the second or third listen. Um, so yeah, really good, but definitely a difficult first listen. Um, in terms of the transitions and the juxtapositions and especially the vocal production. I think that's the part that was the hardest thing for me to listen to was why is his vocals so buried in the mix for such a important lyric. So if I can get over that, I think I would really enjoy this song. And like I say, I'll listen to it a second time off the channel and just forget what he's singing about, just go with it. So, Legendary Lauda, thank you for the recommendation. Thank you to everyone who voted on the poll. Um, yeah, it sounded experimental, extremely experimental to me. And with music like that, it just takes time to for the melodies and so forth to sink in. So, yeah, good listen, and thank you for joining me on the channel. Hit that like or subscribe button; it really does help the channel grow. We're just starting off our second year here, and I appreciate all you guys. So, and I say guys for everybody. So, as we say here in Bonita, Mexico, buen dia.